Hey guys, today we have Gibbs razor inside the little plastic type Gibbs container. Pretty neat. We have the Taj handle, and this is the Semogue Owners Club, a boar brush, of course, and it's my most used one, and so it's got 40 or 50 uses, at least most uses that I've put on a boar. Santal Noir from Mammoth in their Tusk base, and then in the razor we're going to put this 7 o'clock yellow, and as you can see it doesn't have too many uses. 3 it looks like I've used so far, and of course this is the Gibbs, and so we can't use the normal blades unaltered. We have to modify them a little bit. So here is the head. I have a Bakelite handle. And if I wanted to carry some blades right there, I could. It does have a metal little grommet thing in there to make sure that the plastic doesn't strip out, when connecting with the bolt here. We have to modify the blades because the Gibbs have these posts. The one over here has broken off, but the one there is still there. I've used this razor once before and got a nice shave from it. There are 2 aggression settings for this, and it's for each side. The plus side right here is more aggressive, the minus side is less. I would consider, for my own perspective, that the plus is very aggressive and the minus is mid to slightly more than mid aggressive. And so I might have wished that the range would have been a little more toward the smaller side, where maybe the minus was a little milder. And how I'm just making sure my alignment. Because of these posts, I had to take and cut a notch or cut the sides off of my blade to make room for the 2 notches. I've used this blade in my other Gibbs razor, so I did go ahead and cut off both ends. And there we go. Any DE blade can be modified pretty easily. The brush here has soaked for about half an hour. I just meant to soak it for maybe 15 minutes, but I got to doing some other stuff. And the Santal Noir, oh man, there are some other noir fragrances that I've smelled. Stirling put out a noir, and Chiseled Face has a Guy Noir. There are some noir colognes that I've tried, and they all kind of have a similar scent. And definitely you can tell it's part of a family, a genre that's pretty easy to identify. And I do enjoy this one. Let me get my face wet. And of course this soap is in a base that I really enjoy as well. The Tusk base from Mammoth is tremendous. Very slick, can take a whole lot of water. And I haven't used this too many times, and so that's why I went ahead and grabbed it today. Let's do why don't we try a 20-second load, because I was kind of pressed for time tonight and I did not look at my data to see if maybe I really should do 15, so we'll just err on the side of caution. I'm pretty sure I don't need to do more than 20. And it feels that I'm good. See, we've got a nice wet early kind of slurry going on here. Yeah, that's a good scent. I'm going to rinse off the tub here. I always do that so the cap screws on and off, doesn't bind, pretty much like new. I've definitely received some used soaps in the past that the person didn't care about that at all. If you leave those types of containers alone for a while, they can really bind up. So this brush still has a ways to go, but he has long been enjoyable. What it has left to do, because he's splaying pretty well now, his splay will probably increase. The Owners Club is notorious for a big splay. And also what the magic is going to be when the tips just continue splitting and more split as the uses get put on the brush. A little early lather there. Now we can start adding water. I believe my water here, I don't think it's hard. If it is hard, it's not very hard. Let's go ahead and shoot in 2 teaspoons right from the beginning. You can experiment if you want to with mixing slowly to see if maybe that brings less air into your lather. See if you like that effect. I think in general for me it seems to not matter too much. The main reason I go slow at first when I put water in is so that I don't immediately slosh out the water with my brush. There are some soaps, if you push water in them too quickly, if you're bowl lathering, then you need to give them extra time, extra work, like what I'm doing now. Just keep mixing because you need to let them settle down and work some of those air bubbles out so that you move toward a luxurious and creamy texture. That's mitigated sometimes when you use a water addition method that kind of adds water slowly. But I'm not really doing that tonight since I did two teaspoons at first, and then this one was 1 teaspoon. But the good thing is, even if you have a little bit of hairiness to your lather, it still, in every case I've ever come across, it's still going to be a very slick, serviceable lather. It just may not be quite as nice as it could have been with a little bit more work. But especially if you're a morning shaver, you may not have the time to take that lather to that last extra mile and have it be amazing. You may have to settle for just excellent, you know. Wonderful look to this one. The brush feels good in it. I'm going to put a 4th teaspoon in there. Looking great. You can watch the texture change as we continue to add water. When you're working on your own lather, do that. Watch it change, and you can figure out where you like to stop with your water adding. You may be the same as me. You may like to stop a little sooner. It's all, you can gear it all according to your own preferences. Now this is pillowy, it feels light, but it does feel all creamy. That looks good. Now this is Mammoth. And I happen to know that this soap base really loves water, or at least maybe I should phrase it this way. I love to push a ton of water into this soap base because it can take a lot and it still remains creamy and ultra slick. Okay, now look at the texture. It's very different than what it was a few minutes ago. I definitely have an excess of lather, so one of the things that gauging, see how it moves on its own? Very nice. That's the way I like it. One of the benefits of gauging how much soap to load on your brush in the beginning, obviously 20 seconds was more than I needed, but I just couldn't remember, is that you have a quicker mix time because you're not waiting to have more water to integrate into more soap. So you can reduce the water if you reduce the soap, and so you reduce the time needed to generate the lather. Get my face wet one more time. I think I tried maybe the Gillette Silver Blue or Astra Platinum blade with this razor before, and it worked well. I believe that I had 2 days of growth, maybe even more, to shave off, and so I was grateful to have that aggressive side to the razor. But today is just a normal 1-day shave. Now the oils in my face are kind of messing with my lather here, so I'm going to dip back in, get some more. I didn't do a pre-wash. Look kind of thin. Yeah, it does. It's all right. Sometimes. I happen to know in this case it's just fine. Mammoth is wonderful, and then also when you're doing this type of circular motion, it's normal to have, when you like your lathers as wet as I do, it's normal to kind of push the lather to the outside of the brush, push it to the outside of the face, that sort of thing. And then once we've worked it into my face here, this is really wet. I wonder if this brush had a little pocket of wetness in there that I didn't get to when I was mixing it in the bowl. Maybe I should have pressed in a little harder. Get in there and do that now so I don't forget. Just to make sure we don't have any wet spots. All right. And before, since I had so much growth, and to also check out the plus side, I assumed that it might not be one that I use a lot, but I wanted to try it out. After the first pass, I switched to the minus, and I was glad I did. Let's do the whole shave this time with the minus side. Again, plus, minus. And if you use this type of razor a lot, then you'll probably want to keep track and flip your blade so that you don't always shave. If you do like the minus, like I do, you don't always have the blade oriented in that direction. Or, since blades are super cheap, just shave until it feels uncomfortable and pitch it. So what if you don't get quite as many uses out of it? Either way you want to go, it's fine. The plastic handle definitely gives this one weight toward the head. And it's such a light razor, I do feel like I kind of have to pull it through the hair. It's doing that well, and it's quite wet, and sometimes when you see the razor kind of skip like you've seen this one do a couple of times, that means that maybe the lather might be a little more wet than I want it to be. How does it feel? Yeah, it feels nice and slick. It's probably a little too wet. All right, so I'm gonna rinse, but then I'm gonna pat my face dry. Sometimes if you have a lather that's too wet, that's a great way to cause a little bit of the water from the lather to leach into your skin, resulting in a lather that's a little less wet feeling. All right. Yeah, the scent is very nice on this one. It's not super strong, but it's here during the shave. It's a part of it. Yeah, see, there we go. This is a little bit more creamy now. Also because those oils from my skin have been washed away now. The Gibbs razor, this model, makes one side more aggressive and one side less aggressive by thinning out the top cap here. On the more aggressive side, the plus side here, there's less material on the top cap as it gets closer to the blade, therefore allowing the blade to be a little higher, have a little bit more exposure than the other side. Go cross grain now. The Gibbs people really nailed down some nice geometry, because I feel the blade, but I don't get any like irritation. I don't get any very much chatter. It did not take off as much hair off of that first pass as some other razors, but I don't really care about that as long as by the end of the third it's got the job done. Very comfortable here. I don't feel like I'm in danger of giving myself any irritation. I was curious about that. Had a tiny bit of tenderness at the end of the first shave where I used the plus side to the first pass and the rest of the sides with the minus pass. This is also a different blade, and so it could be, since this razor might be on the higher end of my aggression tolerances, the difference in blades may be very important for me since this is right on the edge. The rinse went very well. Cold water didn't let me know of any problems. So this blade seems to be doing very well with the minus, and we are looking apparently at some nice gradual removal of hair, and that's important in this hobby. Usually, don't think in terms of get it all at once. Think in terms of gradual stubble reduction. Now, there are people who like to just do a one-pass shave. Kind of rare. I like shaving so much, I wouldn't want to try to condense my experience to one pass. Seems to be pretty intuitive, finding the right angle with this razor. A little bit of skin stretching here, not a lot. Okay, now we'll test it out with chin up and away, because this is my trouble spot right here. And I'll hold my skin down a little bit back here. And this is a cross grain pass going the other direction than what I have done the first two passes. And there we go. Let's just see how close we got. We can also just take some lather from the bowl. And just a quick touch up pass there. Now, just to show you what I did with this blade, I did not cut a little notch out with a 1/8 inch punch that I've done with most of my other Gibbs conversion blades. I just took some scissors, and you can do this, and you cut off about half of the width of this end right here, and then it'll fit right in the Gibbs razors. So it's easy to modify with standard scissors, or you can do the punch. Now the nice thing about the 1/8 inch punch is because it leaves you a little bit of end tabs to do any alignment. Today no alignment was needed. Everything worked great. And so yeah, here's the 7 o'clock SharpEdge, and it worked very well. Let me dry off my face here. Let's take a quick look. And for the most part, I got a pretty nice shave. There are several tips just in this area that maybe could benefit from some more work, but I'm fine. Face very comfortable. This was a very smooth blade for me. It felt very in control. I was confident in it. It did feel sharp in the sense that if I lapsed in technique, I could give myself some irritation. But everything went very well. Happy with it. Let's pick some post-shave. This is probably not all that complimentary to this scent, but I'm going to use some Tuscany Splash. As far as I know, it's still on sale on Stirling's website. I just think not very many people like the Tuscany. The balm and the soap and all that sold out pretty quickly, but the Splash is still on sale. I think it's got a little bit of cypress, some orchid, some spices. Got a little bit of a sting there. And so they did announce they were discontinuing it, even though I like the balm a lot better than the Splash here. It's just a different scent profile. Balm is a sweeter profile. All right, and that burning didn't last very long at all. Very nice. I don't see any redness. Definitely didn't get any weepers or anything like that. So happy shave. Here's what this little fellow looks like with a little bit of towel stropping to dry him. It is common for those who show their Owners Club brushes on the web that have used them for a long time to have that splay just be all the way over. Just a huge splay. And there's a reason. A lot of people love this brush. It's comfortable. It is directed in the sense of the bristles on the outside are intentionally shot out to the side to help with that splay feeling. And then it's just a high grade of boar bristle that for me got comfy pretty quickly. And I'm looking forward to when these tips are going to split. It may take 100 uses. It may take 200. But what I know is, ever since maybe the 8th use, it's been enjoyable, comfortable, and very workable. It stirs up a lather really nicely, feels great on the face. And so while I wait for that perfection moment when almost all the tips have split and it's as good as it's going to get, it's still a very enjoyable brush as we head toward that way. So I can see why it's so loved by many people. A lot of the other Semogue brushes are smaller and lighter. So if you like less of a footprint on your face, then those other ones might be a good way to go. If you kind of like this type of brush, then I like to also recommend the Zenith brushes. They are wonderful. And if I had to choose Semogue or Zenith, I would probably, that would be tough. That would be tough. Zenith has a few models that I've got. I don't have tons of models from them, but I've got a lot of Semogues, and a lot of them fall into that small, light, airy category. So that's it. But the 2000 from Semogue I really enjoy. I consider it kind of the Semogue Owners Club for people who don't want to spend the extra money and actually get the Owners Club. It's got a nice big knot, and it's got really soft tips. Feels good, but it's not quite as expensive as this one. And you've got the Owners Club. You've got the 2000. What else does Semogue have that's kind of in that category? Now, I think most of the others are in the lighter one. Oh, except for the different limited editions. And the Torga C5 is a whole different category in of itself. It's a shorter loft. It's got more density. And so it's more scrubby. So it'll offer different principles, different properties as well. All right, well, that orchid is coming out with the Tuscany now. But it's got some other pieces to it, so it doesn't smell that feminine. Maybe that cypress is coming in with it. So kind of some funky wood, along with that kind of a sweet floral. It's not a high floral like rose or gardenia or jasmine. Yeah, I like it. I like the balm better, but we'll use this splash sometimes too. All right, and who knows if I sit here and smell it, for the next hour, I may decide that the splash isn't my jam. Maybe I'll just stick with the balm, but that's okay. I got it on sale anyway, right? I think we're looking at, we definitely had the 20-second load, and I believe, 5 teaspoons is what we went with the water. Now here I've got the Tuscany around me. It's not interfering too much. It hasn't really changed the noir scent from the soap. It's definitely, this is a more powerful scent, and so this is a little weaker in comparison. But yeah, that's neat. Sometimes it's fun to see how your nose changes as you go back to the soap. And we'll put the Gibbs back together in the plastic container it came with. Pretty nice, really neat piece of history. It's a French razor, and man, I've got another Gibbs model that I just really enjoy. They're well-made pieces. They just figured out the geometry, the right geometry to use, and I believe they're stainless steel, except when you can visually see that it's like a plastic handle or something like that. All right, I think we are good. So the 7 o'clock yellow is a very nice match with this razor. And I stuck the whole time on the minus setting. I don't regret that at all. Face feels terrific. All right, guys, I hope there was something good in this shave for you. You take care. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Good night.